It's crunch time for the Milwaukee Arena deal. The Assembly is scheduled to vote Tuesday on whether to approve the financing deal for a new downtown arena. The Senate approved it on a bipartisan vote 2 weeks ago. The deal would use a variety of public monies to pay for about half of the arena, which is estimated to cost around $500 million. But the financing deal won't get through without significant support from Democrats on Tuesday, with 15, maybe up to 20 votes necessary. Will Democrats provide the margin for approval? We're asking Minority Leader Peter Barca of Kenosha. Representative, it's good to have you back on the program.
Mike, good to be back. I never lack of topics to talk about.
No, there's always something to talk about here in Wisconsin. So let's talk about the vote. Do you think that Democrats have 15 to 20 votes for the arena deal?
Well, as I told the Speaker and Majority Leader, it depends on whether or not they're willing to make changes to the deal. I mean, we're not party over the last 3 or 4 months of the negotiations, so we're late to the deal. Just in the last 3-4 weeks, Senator Schilling and I were invited a couple times to the governor's office to begin discussing it, and a wide variety of ideas were brought forward. They made a couple changes in the Senate that I think were meaningful, and we've got a couple more that could be meaningful. So part of it is just, you know, if they want to operate in good faith and work with us to get the best deal possible for the taxpayers and protecting the citizens of the greater Milwaukee and southeastern Wisconsin area, then, you know, certainly we want to see them stay here. I think that that's the goal that we all share in. We think it would be a plus long term. We think it'll lead to significant development in the greater Milwaukee area, but you know, obviously, it needs to, you know, we need to make sure we all feel comfortable.
Let me have you give us some insight into what it is the Assembly is looking to do with this piece of legislation. The Senate passed something. You could have probably just taken that up and voted on that. What do you want in this deal that's currently not in it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that for us, I mean, first of all, we're looking at a number of different issues here, where, you know, we have about 6-7 amendments that various members have drafted. But, you know, by and large, one thing that's important is making sure that 30 years from now, when the Bucks come around and want a new arena, again, that we're in much better shape for the taxpayers, that we're not in the same boat now where we have to put millions of dollars just to keep the Bradley Center operating because it needs significant maintenance. Additionally, we want to make sure that we have the best arrangement for the greater Milwaukee area, for workers and for having jobs that are meaningful, that I think the Bucks share in. And third,
have they indicated they share in that?
Oh, they do. Yes,
you may have heard on this show a week ago, Joe Sanfilippo said, you know, hey, I think if you start adding things that talk about certain hiring practices or things like that, that could be a problem with our caucus.
Well, I think what Sanfilippo was referring to was in the Park East developments that go on. And I think what we're referring to is for the arena itself, the types of jobs, the people that work there, and things of that sort. And you know, so there's been significant discussions and just trying to make sure with the Bucks. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes this deal complicated, Mike, because you've got the Bucks, of course, which are important parties, the city and the county, governor's office, and you know, now we've got to talk with the Senate, because ideally, if we make some changes, we'd like them to concur in those changes so that we are not going back and forth between the bodies. So we're reaching out to all parties, but it's complicated to sort of reach an agreement that everybody can feel comfortable with. But I think we can get there. I'm hopeful, although, you know, we really have not had a chance to sit down with the Republicans and go over these amendments. That's going to happen actually over the weekend and Monday, going into Monday. But that's the same way it worked in the Senate. It came down the last couple of days.
And I was going to ask you about the Senate vote, because at the end of the day, it was a pretty significant majority. Could the same thing happen here, where we hear a lot about, boy, it's coming down to the wire, it could be close, you need 15 to 20 Democratic votes or else it won't happen, but when it's all said and done, it passes fairly comfortably in the Assembly?
It could. I mean, I think all members, and I hear on the Republican side as well that they have a certain number of solid votes, but there's quite a few still in the middle. And I think the final deal will make a difference, of course. You know, and obviously, the one positive, I think, for the state taxpayers, I mean, the mayor, I think, did a fine job, and the county executive tried their best to work out what was important to them. But, you know, the one thing taxpayers can at least feel relatively good about at the end of the day is that the revenue that we get from not only the Bucks players, but LeBron James and all these superstars when they come into town, that revenue alone will pay the state taxpayer share. If the Bucks leave, LeBron James will never pay taxes in Wisconsin again, I assume.
Are you going to give permission to some of your Democratic colleagues in the Assembly to vote against this, just to make sure they protect themselves against this being used against them as a campaign issue in the future?
Well, we always encourage our members, unlike the Republicans who generally vote as a block on everything, except when you get down to tough votes like this, I guess. But we always encourage people to vote their districts. I mean, they know how people in their district feel. They know whether or not they think there's support, and they can sell it back home. And it's not easy to sell, because even though for the taxpayers as a deal, I think that you can see some real benefit there. The perception is part of the issue, and that's why generally these things are done as part of a larger capital budget, as part of the general budget. I mean, politically, it's hard for some people to take that vote as an isolated vote just because of the perception issue politically.
The Assembly Minority Leader is Representative Peter Bark of Kenosha. It's good to have you back on the program.
Mike, great to be with you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Scott Walker has a big lead in Iowa right now, according to the polls, but just how accurate is the polling in a caucus state? I'll talk with Iowa's most respected pollster next on Upfront.